Welcome back to another thing. I'm Larry Menti. America has suffered through a record number of foreclosures after the housing crisis, but guess what? It is not over yet. Here to talk more about that is Vivian Gaspar, who is a mortgage modification and foreclosure remediation expert and author of the series Stop My Crisis. You can also get more information from her website at stopmycrisis.com. Vivian, thank you so much for being here. Why are we still having a problem with foreclosures?
Well, let me tell you that over 100,000 New Jersey homeowners alone are in some state of default or foreclosure, which equals roughly just under 15%. And New York and New Jersey are amongst the top 5 states that are the longest in the country for foreclosure. And there was the bottleneck in the judicial system. Some states in the country do require the judicial process for foreclosure, and it's involved in every step. And some states don't. So, for example, Delaware is one of the quickest and swiftest states in the country to see a foreclosure happen.
Okay, that's the size of the problem, which is incredible. Why?
Well, we do know about the mortgage crisis, which is very nicely spelled out.
But that's years ago. I mean, I'm thinking by now we would have gotten out of that, no?
Well, let's see. In 2004 through 7 and 8, we had things called, for example, the interest-only loans. Well, that's like renting your house. Sooner or later, you're going to have the principal built in. For a lot of people, that principal balance equals another $800 to $1,200 a month when it adjusts. That's a tremendous difficulty for most people. And then there's, well, anything else you can imagine. A lot of people, even though gas prices are doing phenomenally well, there's a lot of businesses that are still struggling. 45% of the workforce is employed by a small business owner. And unfortunately, they're not doing well. So if they have to let people go, that adds to the unemployment rate, just like transversely. If we help business owners with lowering their primary responsibility at home, which is their mortgage, through a modification, that just helps them stay in business, grow their businesses, and employ others.
So we had a housing crisis brought on by mortgage companies and by the banks. We had a housing crisis.
Yes.
It caused a recession, caused people to be out of work, and that caused the foreclosures, and we're still not out of that yet.
Absolutely not. We are still deep in the thick of it.
And
they're
amazing.
Just not paying attention to it.
And I talked to you a little bit before the show started, and you were telling me that the mortgage companies and the banks that were bailed out in the first place are profiting off of this.
They really are. And unfortunately, there's no transparency for the billions of dollars that they were given by the federal government many years ago. If you remember, when the news stations and the reporters asked the banks, what did you do with the money? They were not obligated to disclose that. That's what Americans find reprehensible. And then, of course, since then, it's all been reported that they've been turning more profits. And, of course, there really aren't in every state, maybe in some states, but not around here in the Northeast, secret lists of foreclosed homes going for pennies on the dollar. They don't exist. For example, I've been speaking to a lot of real estate agents in New Jersey recently. I do a lot of public education, and they've told me there's such a shortage right now of homes for sale, even in the winter. We're still in the winter, it's only March. They said that there's basically bidding wars going on. And banks are smart, obviously. They know this. The reason they actually want the homes that they want foreclosed upon is to make that foreclosed home an REO.
So they want your home.
They
if
absolutely
you're close
do.
to a foreclosure, they absolutely want your home. They don't want to try to get you out of the foreclosure.
No, they don't. They have loss mitigation departments to allegedly help people, and I'm not saying they never do. Of course they do sometimes. But they don't. I've heard from so many people, and I literally have sat in over 350 homes, and I sit with people between 3 to 5 hours at a time to help them with their situations. And I've spoken to thousands and thousands of people since 2008 when I've been starting to specialize in this area. And they've all told me the same thing, that if their lender were to work with them cooperatively, they would not be where they are. I actually had a lender tell a family, a client of mine, to go ahead and liquidate their 401k to pay off their arrears. Somebody sitting in a loss mitigation department in one of our largest lenders in the whole country told this family, liquidate your 401k. And they were only 2 years behind. Now, I know you're going to say, what do you mean 2 years? In New Jersey, the foreclosure process is between 3 to 6 years.
Well, so you should stay in your home.
Stay in your
don't
home
leave
as
your
long
home.
as you can.
And is that for Delaware and Pennsylvania?
Everywhere. Until you have actually a sheriff's sale telling you you must vacate the home. And please, if you are faced with a sheriff's sale, get any postponements that are allowed by court. In New Jersey, it's 2 on your own accord, and you might be able to get a 3rd with the judge's assistance. But they are usually 2 weeks at a time, so that buys you another week. And if you absolutely must leave your home, please get the cash for keys. Cash for keys actually means that the lender foreclosing upon the homeowner will give this homeowner between normally $10,000 to $30,000 to simply vacate the home cooperatively without causing destruction. Because banks are smart. They want to sell those foreclosed homes, right? They sell them as an REO. REOs stand for real estate owned. Owned by who? Owned by the banks. They were foreclosed
Who you've
homes.
said wants their homes in the first place. And
Right.
I imagine that's why those lists you're talking about are secret, because the bank wants to be able to buy the home that's
They
foreclosed.
buy them back from themselves. They don't actually end up available to the general public most of the time. I'm not saying never, but the vast majority of the time, the bank buys it back from themselves so they could list it on the open market. And as a licensed realtor who's inactive, because this is my profession, I help people with modification and foreclosure, but I can tell you, having seen the listings from the real estate owner's perspective, the bank lists the foreclosed homes with real estate agents.
Wow, what you're saying is atrocious. And you know what? If you want to get more information from Vivian, the best thing to do is go to her website at stopmycrisis.com. And again, there's a series of books, Stop My Crisis. There's 2 of them. You can pick them up, I would imagine, at any bookstore or online. Thank you so much for being here. It was great information. When we come back, Dawn takes us to the biggest flower show in the world when Another Thing continues.